Okay, recording in progress. If by any chance the sound deteriorates halfway through, which what happened last time, can somebody unmute themselves? Because it could be that the speaker's dropped out. I'm not sure whether that was the issue. Okay, so those of you who has definitely sat through it to know what it sounded like, probably you, Tracy, TM, because you know exactly what it should sound like, and it could be, I just need to, maybe the Bluetooth speaker's lost connectivity or something. Okay, cheers guys, let's get ready. We're fine, we can all see something. I can actually see you down here. That meeting's being recorded. Oh dear. Oh, it's all a bit of a, trying to pat your tummy and your face at the same time, isn't it, really? Right, so. Okay. That's gone off there. I can see you all there. We're still missing somebody or other. Somebody's gone off screen. Let's just see what's going on there. Okay, don't quite know where somebody's disappeared to. Right. Okay, so folks, so we're going to start in Shavasana, lying down on our mats. So take a few moments to have a little wobble, let the legs come apart. If you've got your hair up, you might need to move your scrunchy things out of the way. Just make sure you haven't got any jewelry that's digging in. Allow the legs to drop open away from the midline and have the hands and the arms away from the body. Begin to notice the imprint that you're making on your mat. And have a sense of the calves touching the floor, the buttocks, the back of the head. And notice your body where there are spaces. It may be under the ankle joints or the back of the knees, perhaps, or the low back. Perhaps the nape of the neck. And have a sense of it as if you feel like you may be sticking your bottom out. Have a sense of how hollowed your low back is or how flat your low back is. And then just place your hands underneath your low back. See, if you're lying at the moment, just get a sense of, can you get your hands underneath your low back at all? And then place your hands on the front of your hip bones, your pelvis, and have a sense of whether they feel level or even. And then rub your hands up to the rib cage a little bit. And just slowly begin to rub your fingers along the edge of the ribs. So you're just beginning to drop off from the center of the ribs and get underneath a little bit and just work your fingers down towards your waists and have a sense of how tight that feels. Can you feel any knotty bits? Does it feel a little bit tight? And then gradually just begin to comb your fingers or rub your fingers along the edge of the rib cage where your diaphragm sits. Knuckling around the bottom ribs. And then gradually begin to knuckle up through the sternum. I've got the microphone on, so this may sound quite loud. So knuckling up right into the chest wall, using your knuckles right the way up. And then use the opposite knuckles or fingers up under the clavicle. So I'm just going to sit up to show you. Okay, so you're working right along, it's like an upside down V, along the edge of the ribs, right up knuckling into the sternum, and then out along under the clavicles. Like I said, I'm just not doing this because the mic is there. You can dig in your fingers, you can use your knuckles, you can have the other arm up behind you. So we're just waking up the chest a little bit, getting into a little bit of the breathing activation points. And again, then just work your fingers right the way around the edge of the rib cage. And then take your fingers and just dig into the sides of your waists a little bit. So you're lying down doing this, but I'm just sitting up so you can see. That's it. So digging in and have a sense of how squishy that feels. How much space do you have from your lower ribs to your hips? And then about a couple of centimeters either side of your belly button, just have a little bit of a dig in there, a little bit of a rub in there with your thumbs or your thumb and first finger. and then rub around in a clockwise fashion into your belly. So this is a little bit similar to the cordless ball work we do, but we're just using our hands. Sometimes we don't have a cordless ball. Just to be mindful if you've got any scarring, any adhesions, any sort of hernia repairs, just go a little bit gentle. And then place your feet flat on the floor. Bring the arms out into a T position, and let's slowly begin to roll the pelvis from north to south. So we're consciously arching and curling the low back. So you're opening up through the front of the hips, squeezing the glutes, and then you're letting the back arch away. So all we're doing is tucking the pelvis sort of north to south. And then gradually just begin to see if you can actually roll up a little bit to actually get the glutes slightly clear of the floor. So you'll just put your hands on the front of your pelvic bones and just take the bottom off the floor, literally about an inch or so. It's more to do with rounding the back into the floor. And then come back to neutral. And then slowly let's allow the pelvis to go from east to west. So you're just trying to tuck the pelvis east to west. And then come back to neutral and imagine you've got a really big plate sitting in your pelvis or from your hip bones up to your rib cage. And now you're going to just try and draw a circle around. So you're going 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Notice how easy or hard it feels to just draw that circle around the belly. Does it feel circular to you, or does it feel like you've got a sort of a square bit? And then go the opposite way. Opposite way, circulating around. And then again back to neutral. And then keep the feet placed on the floor. Slowly let's round the back into the floor and begin to lift the hips up. So we're coming up into a shoulder bridge. Bring the hips up, pushing down onto the feet or pulling the feet into the floor, should I say. Follow up by the arms, sweep the arms up overhead. And then wheel the spine all the way back down through to the sacrum and place the hands down by the thighs. So we're checking in to see how fluid this movement feels. Push down onto the feet, begin to lift the hips up, knees away from you, follow up by the arms, and then wheel the spine back down vertebra by vertebra through to the sacrum, followed by the arms. So just do a couple more of those. That's it. Nice feet width apart. Good positioning there, everybody. Wheel the pelvis up. So really get a sense that the glutes feel that they're engaged. And then you follow up by the arms. Keep the arms up and then wheel the spine back down before you put your bottom down. That's it. Good, nice positioning there, Mary. Bringing your hips down and then you bring your arms down. Okay. If you're on a really fat mat, you may feel slightly unstable, so just bear that in mind, Pat. Okay, you might feel a bit more wibbly wobbly. Okay. And then let's hug the knees into the chest, pull the knees in as close to us as possible, tuck the chin in, and see if you can roll up like a little ball, just north to south. Squeezing the belly in, rolling up like a little ball. Notice how heavy your lower body feels, tuck the chin in. Notice how easy or uncomfortable it is to round the back. Place the feet back down again. So the feet are back down towards the buttocks, arms out into a T position. And let's take the knees over to the right. The head goes over to the left. So only go as far as you can, keeping the knees together. Okay, pivoting one way and the other. Soften and settle into your breathing. As the knees cross the midline, so does the head. Breathe into the belly. Imagine that diaphragm moving down where we were just rubbing. Allow your belly to expand as you inhale. And then slowly come back to the center. And let's fold the right ankle over the left knee and come into the piriformis stretch. So reach through, bring the knee in towards us, fold that leg in, bring it in as close to you as possible. Keep your head, neck, and shoulders as relaxed on the floor as possible so that you're not craning and straining into your neck. And as we pull that knee in square towards us, try not to pull it across to the opposite shoulder. Get a sense of that tensioning through that buttock and hip, outer hip and thigh. And also check that it's crossing below above the ankle joint, not below. And if you can let go and just use your musculature, as it were, so that you can drive that leg around, not using your hand, do so. So if you can do it without holding on, then have a little circulate around if you can, that's great. So just sort of drive that leg around a little bit. If it feels too strong for you today, don't do that. And then let's get ready to do the other side. Okay, so that's it. So cross the ankle over the opposite leg. If you don't want to lift the leg up, again, you can just let that leg drop out to the sides. Reach through, option to take hold of the supporting leg and pull it in towards you. Keep the head relaxed. Don't be craning in the neck and the shoulders. I'm just looking towards you lot. So nice relaxed belly breathing. And then you've got the options just to do a little bit of mobilizing like this, where you're just driving that leg around using your hip. And then let's untangle ourselves and just keep the knees folded in as close to you as possible. And then see if you can sort of let those legs drop out a bit like a frog leg position. It's a bit of happy baby. So you may want to grab hold of the back of the thighs, the knees, the ankles. Some of you may be able to grab hold of your toes. So this is where you decide whether your little happy baby is happy indeed, or whether it's going to have a stroppy tantrum. Okay, so it's up to you. You can waggle your legs around. You can kick your heels into your bottom. You can go roly-poly. You can gurgle, laugh, giggle. I can't hear you, so. We've got very quiet babies in the studio today. So yeah, have a bit of a play. You might decide that you want to go for a little bit of a roll left to right. This may be the last thing you want to do. Listen to your body. See if you can let those hips just drop open. You might want to try and straighten your legs. You might want to try and draw your feet around doing some circles. And then slowly, let's just put those feet down. Lengthen those legs away for a minute and just take a few breaths. And then slowly come over onto your side and then just bring yourselves up into sitting. We're going to do a little bit of cordless ball work. So we did a little bit of rib cage work with the ball. So just get up onto the front of the sit bones. And that's it. So just bring yourself up and see what it's like just to sit up and lift one leg and the other. Ideally, trying to be as upright as possible. Have a sense of how connected that feels, how much you feel like you want to lean back. Again, then get up onto the front of the sit bones, pull the knees in, and then we can play around with a little bit of balance, perhaps. So feel free just to completely stay holding onto the back of the thighs. You might just want to try and sit as upright as possible. You may want to have a go at just extending one leg up, supporting you through the other leg. You might want to take both feet off. You may be able to take your arms off. You may be able to extend your legs up. You might be able to drive one leg in and out. Give us your best poker face. Is anyone laughing? Anybody grimacing? Who's got furrowed eyebrows? Okay, notice how heavy that felt, or not. Bit heavy. It's very humid in here today. We have got the windows open though. Right, let's come over onto our tummies and feel how we feel in a little bit of a Sphinx and a Cobra. Have your arms into that sort of number 11 position. Just have a wiggle of the pubic bone and have the arms far enough forward so that you're not sort of collapsed as if it's a real struggle to come up. Okay, and feel your belly on the floor, feel your pubic bone on the floor, your knees, your thighs, obviously. See if you can breathe in and out through the nose and allow the belly to expand into the floor. Keep the neck soft. You may even be able to look round behind you. Just see how that feels with turning your head a little bit. And then draw your jaw forward. You might feel like you're pulling a slightly silly face. And just see how that feels in the under throat. See how it feels in the under throat coming down to the neck into the chest wall. Okay. And then place your head on the floor, bring your hands down, and let's actually just anchor the pubic bone into the floor. Just use those back extensors a little bit. Place the fingers on the floor and come up into a cobra. So it's up to you how high up you want to come. So try not to prop yourself up from there, Mary. Okay, so bend the elbows. Keep the arms into the side of the body a little bit. We're not just propping ourselves up like this. That's it, elbows are slightly in. Look forward. You don't have to be looking up, but just look forward and belly breathe. Notice how much tension you have in the underbody, underbelly. You may feel that it's quite uncomfortable in your low back or your rib cage, your belly, your sternum, ribs. If you can look up or draw your eyebrows up, see what that feels to lengthen up. You may be getting a few little judders and jitters in your back, but just log how that feels. Briefly come out, come into child's pose. Just do completely the opposite before we start the rolling. So child's pose is feet together, knees wide. Now, depending on how you feel through your knees, your hips, your back, always remember to prop yourself up on your knees if you need to. Otherwise, slide the hands forward. Let your belly be soft onto the thighs. See if you can get your haunches back and separate the knees a bit if you can, rather than just rolling up like child's pose. And let's incy-wincy the fingers across to the side. So how far across the side can you take the arms? Hands are as flat as possible, that's it. So see if you can just take those arms a little bit more across to the side, Tina. That's it, take them over to the side a bit more. That's it, and take the other one with it as well. So it's as if you're doing a slight big long stretch down the side body. Actively breathe into the rib cage on that side, expand sideways laterally. And then walk the fingers across the opposite way. So take your time. If it feels too much, you can remember to do it with bent arms or straight arms. And if you want to intensify that lengthening, put the top hand on the bottom hand. But try not to rotate the spine as much. See if you can stay fairly square to the floor. That's it. Just keep trying to settle that bottom back towards your heels if you can, Pat. That looks nice, isn't it? Some nice relaxed poses there, folks. Breathe into the side seam. And then slowly come back to the front. Let's do a little bit of undulation cat curling before we come into some ball rolling. If your wrists are uncomfortable in this position, folks, remember you can come up onto your knuckles. Okay, so depending on how what you've been doing today, you can do this on your knuckles. Arch and curl. Sucking the breath out as you arch up. Separate those shoulder blades, let your head be heavy, look through your legs, then arch under, let the belly be soft, let the belly expand as you look up under the eyebrows, either from fists or wrists. Fists or wrists, that sound quite. Okay, so that's the little check-in. Just grab your soft gorgeous ball. Actually, let's just do another little check-in. Let's just do opposite arm, leg briefly. So opposite arm, opposite leg, thumb is up towards the ceiling. Opposite leg is being pushed out. Squeeze the glutes, try and have a nice long line. So just drop your head, Tina, once you've seen what we're doing. Just keep your head in line with your spine and then come down and set yourself up. So you can lift the leg up, try and draw it up so you're not throwing your pelvis out. Toes are pointing to the floor. That looks good. Palm is soft into the midline. So TM, just bring your palm into the midline a little bit. That looks nice. Good one, Pat. Nice, Annette. Good one, Mary. That's it. And then just come back down. See how that felt. Let's grab the gorgeous ball and start with a little bit of rolling through the thoracic spine. How are you in here? You too? You all right? Back. Yeah. So stick the ball in between your shoulder blades. Okay, we're going to do I can come a little bit closer, can't I? Just think which camera I'm looking. Okay, so ball in between the shoulder blades. So keep the head supported. If you don't want to be on the floor, folks, you can come up to the wall to do this. That's it. Now, if you just roll side to side, you're going to feel like a listing ship rolling around somewhere. So think about trying to get into some of that twisty, grippy movement. If your low back's feeling a little bit vulnerable or uncomfortable, then you can place your sacrum back down on the floor where you can sort of feel a little bit more stable. Allow the ball to come onto the back of the shoulder blades. You might find that you suddenly lose your t-shirt, so you'll have to keep resetting. I regularly have to do a bit of that. And we can also come into a little bit of thoracic extension and flexion. So again, it's not a sit-up, you're keeping the head nice and supported, but you're allowing this movement to come from the sort of the back of the ribs, the thoracic spine. You keep your elbows in to keep your head supported. Now, if you quite like that, you can keep doing a little bit of this. You may also decide to hang out either with your arms down. Okay, so your arms can be down sort of away from the body. They could be out into a T position, or they may be up. Now, if your head doesn't touch the floor, please place your brick underneath it. Okay, so your head mustn't be hanging in the middle of nowhere. That's it. So you may feel that you just want to come into some, if you've literally spent the whole day bent over I don't know, playing golf, or if you've been sat at a desk all day or just hunched forward, allow yourself to breathe. You can make that exaggerated ocean breath. Ideally, breathe in through the nose, feel the ribs and the intercostals expand, fill this canister up of breath as you breathe out, either nose breathe or mouth breathe, or sighing, releasing out breath. The ball is giving us massive feedback into the back of the lungs, the back of the ribs. Let's have a little go, if it suits your shoulders, to lift your arms up and down. Let's come into some shoulder flexion. Shoulder flexion, shoulder extension, just lifting those arms up and down above you. You can have the arms in a sort of like a number 11 position, or you can bring the arms out away from you, beginning to get into the pecs and the chest a little bit. So your head is down, gang. I was only just doing that because of that's it. Keep your head down if you're trying to do that. Okay, folks, so just peel the ball out for a second, take the ball out for a second, and just lie yourself back down briefly, have a little shimmy, and just take a few breaths now. A few breaths. Have a sense of how you can breathe into the back of the lungs, into the ribs. Have a sense of whether your low back feels flatter, or are you sticking your bottom out as much? Do you feel a bit flatter on the floor? Lift your arms up and down, bring them behind you. I don't think we did that as a check-in, but we did a check-in where we tried to put our hands underneath our low backs. So have a go at placing your hands underneath your low back and just see if that feels any easier. Or do you feel flatter to the floor, should I say? Just give us a thumbs up if you feel flatter to the floor. Just let us know. You might feel quite a lot flatter, yeah, much flatter. Jolly good. Okay, folks, let's come over onto our tummies. So you may not want to do this, okay? We are going to do a little bit of chest rolling, and we're going to be doing a little bit of abdominal belly rolling, okay? So go very lightly if you're new to this, okay? So it could be that you might want to take, if you haven't done this at all, you might want to take some air out. So you know who you are. If you think, hang on a minute, I'm not sure how I feel about this, you might want to take some air out if you haven't done it at all before. But put the ball underneath your tummy just a little bit and just see if you can tolerate the ball being there. So the aim of this is just to acquaint ourselves with the ball in our guts, in our belly fat, belly viscera, trying to get into the diaphragm a little bit. And just, can you breathe as normally for you as possible, or do you feel that you're bracing and holding your breath? If your ball is too big, it may feel too uncomfortable, in which case, please take some air out of it. Obviously, we've got a mixture of experiences here. So hopefully you're able to breathe in and out as relaxedly as possible. The other option is to come down, so you're actually lying over the ball with your head over your head on your hands and allowing your body to drape over the ball. So it can be fairly passive, that you're just lying and breathing. The ball is there and you're just trying to meet the pressure of the ball as you breathe in through the nose. We also have contract relax, where you can breathe in, squeeze your lower abdominals into the ball just a little bit. and then release. Okay, so I'm just coming to camera. A lot of people know what they're doing, and there's a few newbies here, as it were. So you can have the ball in your tummy if you're not sure, so you can be breathing in, into the ball, and then you do a baby brace. So you're just lying flat over the ball, and you're just bracing your abdominals a little bit, and then you breathe out, and the ball may go in a little bit more. So breathe in, and do a small brace into the ball, hold for a few seconds, then see what it feels like to breathe out. And then you're going to go for a little bit of a slide and glide if it suits you, letting the ball sort of schmooze across your guts. Have you missed this, Mr. PT? Am I getting a thumbs up with that? But go steady, folks. Yeah, if you haven't been for a while, you're new, just take it nice and steady. Get some slide and glide and begin to sort of like roll across the ball. You can put your arms up, again, pretending I'm on a glass floor, up and down, crossing side to side. Check in with your breathing. Okay, you can feel your heart beating quite strongly sometimes. It might make you feel a little bit windy. It could make you feel a little bit sick. Hopefully not. Hopefully you didn't have a large cup of tea and a piece of cake before you started rolling around. Okay. If there's an area of your hip or pelvis that you want to take the ball into, you may just decide to take the leg up to that side and just take a few moments breathing in one hip, or if you perhaps got a bit of an SI joint problem or a hip flexor problem, you might just decide that you want to just try and nestle over the ball. Just notice how much visceral tension you have going on in your belly and your guts. This can be soothing, but also stimulating. We're often holding huge amounts of emotional and physical tension. So it could be that you just do a small contract, almost like you're barely touching the ball and then you're backing off. Barely squeezing, touching the ball and backing off. And as you back off, you may feel that you're almost melting over the ball a little bit more. You may notice that your breathing's getting a bit slower, a bit deeper. Like I said, sometimes it can just feel a bit gurgly, a bit windy. Just see what you can do to be gentle, but give yourself a bit of a lower belly massage. Now, briefly, if you've been, most of us have been perhaps a little bit more on one side, just peel the ball out for a few seconds. Okay, if you're in the center, just do it anyway, but just take the ball out and just take a few breaths into where that ball was a minute ago. And just see now whether you feel that you've created some space to breathe. Again, it may feel very strange to you who are new to doing this. Just observe how it feels. As you breathe in and out of that area, does it feel like you've created a little bit more space? Briefly take it over onto the other side or take the ball into a slightly different place. So, and if you didn't have it to one side, perhaps just come back to the center again. See how that feels. You can put your head to one side briefly. If you feel that you hip hike a lot on one side, you may want to put the ball on that side that you hike your hip. Certainly for those of you who've done lots of lugging things around or sitting asymmetrically or lugging children about or carting golf clubs, whatever. There's all sorts of things we do asymmetrically. Sitting with your legs under you on the sofa. Surgeries, all sorts of things. So work between a little bit of breathing and also a little bit of contract relax. Allow your breathing to get slower, to feel as if you're coming into a slightly more parasympathetic state. Having said that, if it feels a bit uncomfortable, a bit challenging, it can make you feel a bit grumpy, it can make you feel a bit emotional, it can make you feel that you don't really want to be doing it, in which case you have a choice not to, obviously. Okay, so let's just peel that ball out, okay, and just roll over onto your back briefly, okay? Have your feet bent up and just allow the sacrum just to settle down. And now you're lying face up. Put your hands on your tummy and just get a sense of allowing your belly to expand like a balloon. So as you breathe in through the nose, Allow your belly to expand into your hands and see if you can make that belly like a nice Buddha belly. We like Buddha bellies. Aesthetically, it might feel very strange for you, thinking about sticking your guts out. You may be feeling quite inhibited about your tummy. But just have that sense of that expansion and contraction. If you're not sure that you can actually feel very much, apply a small amount of pressure, like the ball, to give you that feedback as you breathe in and out. Okay, so take your hands off. Let's come back to the shoulder bridge again, feet flat on the floor. So let's push down into the feet, lift the hips up. So you're pushing, but you're almost trying to pull your feet into the floor. So feel the difference between pushing up to pulling your feet into the floor. Sweep the arms up and over, and then again, wheel the spine back down, vertebra by vertebra, to the sacrum, place the hands down. And just do that a few more times with your breath, feeling fluid, lifting the hips up. So you come up on the inhale. You try and keep the arms up as high as possible, and then each vertebra, you're just going to try and settle down all the way through to the sacrum, following down by the hands as fluidly as you're able to. So as you push yourself up, try not to let your knees drop out pat. That's it. Try and have your knees in parallel, your feet flat. Again, if you're on a really pudgy mat, it might make it a bit more awkward to know where your feet are. That looks nice, Tina. That's it. Keep the arms up and then slowly wheel the spine back down all the way through to the sacrum, followed down by the arms. That's good. And then that's it. Once you bring the hands down this time, let's hug the knees into the chest, have a little rock and roll. And then slowly, let's just bring ourselves over and let's grab our alpha balls. Let's have a bit of a glute rollout. So grab your alpha. So the alpha is your big single. Some of you've got double alphas. If you haven't got an alpha, you can use your toted balls, your medium toted balls. So just avoid the sciatic nerve. If it feels nervy, remember to come off it. And we're going to cover some different planes of movement. So again, those of you completely happy with what you're doing, I'm just going to move to camera a bit so you can sort of see. So your sacrum is obviously in this sort of position here. Your sacroiliac joints are here. And so you're going to be rolling out at that sort of angle, and coming across, using the ball out at different angles, up and down, and then all the way around the edge of the bone. If it doesn't help, I've got a blue ball on some blue trousers, sorry. I don't fancy wearing fluorescent yellow leggings, though. I think I'd look like a lamppost, wouldn't I, or something? Not really my scene. So, yes, can you imagine fluoro leggings? Not the most flattering. Anyway, so roll around, get into some of those outer hip piriformis attachments. I think I can almost see a few people's eyes on stalks from here. Remember, if it's uncomfortable, particularly, you can come onto your elbow. Okay, so think about coming across some of that grainy musculature up and down. If you're feeling that you're just very fatigued and you'd really rather be sitting in the garden drinking a cocktail, then do the easy option, which is just to lie down and let your leg just drop out over the ball and do some contract relax. Or you can just take your arms out of the equation. So that's the more languid, I was going to say lazy person, but no, you could just be feeling a bit fatigued. It's not to do with lazy, it's just options, isn't it? Yeah, so options, and take that option, okay? Because it really doesn't matter. You know what sort of day you've had, what sort of week you've had. I can imagine we've all had some similar things going on this year, possibly, and some very unsimilar things. Okay, now also do some contract relax. Squeeze your butt and let it drop. Try and go up that elevator smoothly or go up those steps smoothly. As you contract and draw back down, do you get a ratchety feeling? Has anybody got any ratchety bottoms? Who's got a ratchety bottom? Yeah. Mary, have you got a ratchety bottom? Is it going? Or is it nice and smooth? Smooth. Pat, have you got smooth glutes, mate, today? We've got a bit of that. We've got some of those. Wavy. So do they feel wavy? Do they feel ratchety? Do they feel like a bit of leather shoe? Does it feel like an old football from 1966. It's all leathery and old and disheveled. Okay, sorry, I've changed buttocks without telling anybody because I was getting so excited thinking about old leathery footballs. Well, okay, so contract, relax, squeeze, release. Again, if your hands are getting uncomfortable, wrists are getting uncomfortable, and if you just like more discomfort, then you can pretend to be relaxing, lying on the ball sideways. This is definitely your favorite, isn't it, Andrew? So Andrew's saying you can't think of anything better to be doing on a Tuesday evening, lying on the floor in class, crazy grateful pain, thinking I'd rather be sitting in the garden with the wife drinking a beer, I'm sure. Right. Okay, come through some of those fibers. See if you can soften, settle into them. Again, change vectors, change direction. If you can pin this ball into some of the tissue and literally try and shear it apart a little bit, it may feel a bit like a Chinese burn. That is quite a nice way of doing it when you're actually lying on your back. So if you're always up on your hands, please give it a bit of a go lying on your back. So have a little go with that, Tina, if you haven't done it at all. So lie down. Imagine you're going skiing or you're sort of just dragging your hips to one side, your knees are going one way. How's your breathing? Is everybody breathing? You may just be holding your breath. You might be getting a little bit hot. You'll know when you've had enough because you'll just think, right, I'm done. So, and perhaps let that leg drop out to the side. So that if you've got a hip that's a bit more dodgy or a bit more uncomfortable, perhaps let that leg drop out over the ball and just sort of try and contract that diamond-shaped adductor, your leg out to the side, and then relax. Squeeze the leg into the floor and relax. If it feels nervy or going tingly or a bit numb, come off it. You've probably just plonked straight into your sciatic nerve. Do some squeeze and release. Okay, let's peel the ball out. Oh, how nice is that when it stops? And just slowly let the hips have a little wiggle from side to side. Bring the knees up to the ceiling. Let the knees go one way, the head go the opposite way. Keep the shoulders down and just see if this is beginning to already feel a little bit freer and a bit easier. So is that hopefully feeling a little bit more fluid for anybody in their hips, or they're keeping their shoulders down already? Okay, come back up. Okay, let's place the feet down and we're going to come up into the shoulder bridge again, and we're going to go for 10 rounds. If this is too much for you folks, please back off. Remember, we're going for quality, not quantity. So bring your feet close to your bottom. Make sure you can feel the base of the big toe, the little toe, and the middle of the heel, and your palms are up, folks. Okay, you're not pushing down with your hands. So slowly, let's round the back into the floor and then drag the feet into the floor. So push onto the toes, slowly lift the hips up. Find that comfortable position with your feet, fold the left leg in, and fold the left foot on the ceiling. Okay. And then see, you were preempting me there, Andrew, as you started waving your arms around. So pop that leg back down again and lift the other leg up. So try and keep your hips fairly level as you bring the left and the right up. That's one round. We're going for 10. Those of you who are feeling really a bit more bouncy and a bit more energetic, perhaps you've got a bit more strength or whatever, you're just feeling up for it, you can do a little pulse at the top, bring it back down and fold it back down. But let's maintain some stability through that area. You're looking directly up at the ceiling. Imagine you're placing that foot into the same footprint and check your glutes are on. Actually cup your buttocks with your hands, those rounded cheeks, and have a sense, are they both feeling that they're engaging and firing? Now, if you've got a bit of a lazy leg, lazy buttock, or one's been a bit inhibited because it's been injured or something, or hip issues, can you feel the difference with your glutes? Does one feel a little bit more meaty and engaged? So when you've done, give yourself a bit of a drink if you need to. When you've done, you slowly wheel the spine back down, hug the knees into the chest, have a little rock and roll. And then roll over onto your side. Let's bring ourselves up into sitting. If you've got some water, folks, just have a little sip of water before we continue. So is anybody's buttocks feeling even? Has anybody got even buttocks? If you've got even buttocks, give us a thumbs up. If you feel that they feel fairly symmetrical, give us a thumbs up. If you feel that they're not, well, you've definitely got a discrepancy. You might feel that one definitely feels, you know, a bit more engaged than the other. I'm sure gulping wearing a microphone is not a brilliant thing, is it really? Hopefully it's still on. Okay, so yeah, let's have a little go at just seeing if we can actually sit out into cross-legged. Or if you can't cross your legs, can you bring your soles of your feet together and let your legs drop out? Not sure? Yeah, just see you can do either cross-legged completely, cross-legged the other way, cross-legged the other way, you know, wrap one foot in closer to you, see how that is. Or you may just feel that you can sort of let your thighs drop open. Okay, and then let's bring the knees together, come over onto them, tuck our toes under, and let's bring ourselves up to standing. Let's find our feet. So just begin to lift your feet up and down. See what it feels like to actually roll through. Go from your heel. Can you roll through on all of the toes? Have you got a really stiff ankle? Are your feet loose? Can you actually sort of come into some toe extension? Change feet, see how that feels. Try and keep your hips sort of forward, as it were. And then see what it's like to tuck the top of the toes under. So feel free to hold onto a wall, just so you can see that your leg is straight underneath you. You can hold on if you want to and try and tuck your toes under. Now, the aim with this is to keep the pelvis level sort of forward. So try not to sort of collapse and do this. So get a sense of being able to do this. If you feel wobbly, please hold on. Okay. Now, the next option with this is you're pulling that leg in, that foot into the floor. If your balance feels okay, is to interlace your hands and slowly lift the arms up. So we've got a nice long line from the sort of the fingers, the chest, all the way down the front of the body, right the way down to the big toenail. Feel that sort of tensioning line, so to speak. So just reach up. Now, if you can, you might want to bend your knee a little bit to try and get a bit more of the top of your foot on the floor. Keep looking forward. So look directly in front of you once you've seen what we're doing. And then just bring the arms down, tuck the toes under, and get ready to change legs. So depending on what's going on in your feet, your ankles, your hips, it may feel very different one side to the other. So tuck your toes under. It's interesting, isn't it? Absolutely. Get ready to hang on, folks. Okay, there's no shame in hanging on. Okay, so try and see if you can get that. Now, you may decide to bend that leg a bit more and see if you can really get more of the top of your foot on. Now, if anybody's got cramp, you know, chances are you may suddenly feel like you've given yourself a bit of cramp. So you're trying to get not just your toenail, but your toe on the floor. Bend your knee. Okay, hold on to the bar. Turn around and hold on to the bar and do it. Okay. And then the options again are just to sort of drive that leg into the floor and just imagine you're opening up the whole of the front line. And breathe. And breathe. Don't have to lift the arms up if it feels too unsteady. Just keep looking forward and slowly come out of that briefly. Is that a bit uncomfortable, Mr. PT? Yep, that's pretty, yeah. So toes, we all need a bit more toe work. Right, so let's grab our small set of yoga tune-up balls. Actually, just pick them up, grab them to hand. Let's do a couple of squats as well. So let's just see what our squat ability feels like. You can have your legs out. You could be holding on to your mantelpiece, something that's not going to fall over. Play around with having the feet in parallel. Have a sense of whether you can sort of stick your bum out and sort of maintain that sort of... And this would have been a good check-in before we rolled our buttocks, but we didn't. So just see how that is. Okay, come back up. Another little check-in. Let's come into a forward bend. So feet in parallel. Let's just round forward. let your legs sort of, or let yourself just round forward. Either interlace your hands, let your head hang, wrap your hands around your legs. Some of you may be able to stand on your feet, but just come into your version of a forward fold. Try not to be hanging on with your toes too much, but just see how far down you can come comfortably. If you can get your hands on the floor, do. If you can't, it's fine. Let's focus on some of this belly breathing, this rib breathing. As you breathe in, you're going to expand and almost come upwards. And as you breathe out, the chances are you're going to come a little bit further forward. Rock back on the feet a little bit north to south and just have that sense of how far you can sort of come forward. Okay, now briefly, may need to really bend your knees. We are going to roll the feet out, but we're just going to do one other little check-in. So bend your knees even further so your hands touch the floor, and then you're going to walk yourself into a down dog. So this is another check-in. So walk yourself into a down dog, hands on the floor, feet on the floor, inversion. Okay, so you're looking through your legs, not looking through your hands. You might need to bend your knees a little bit and just see how that inverted V feels. Can you push out through one heel? How does that feel in your calves, your Achilles, your feet? And then again, options. Some of you will really need to bend your knees. If you can't keep your hands on the floor, then just come up and sort of, however you can. Otherwise, sort of walk your legs in and then slowly uncurl, come back up. Check-in time. That was our check-in. Let's grab our small-toed balls. Please keep drinking water, folks. If it is hot and humid. Lost my hair thing, I think. So, yeah, put the ball under your feet, under your heel. Can I come a bit nearer? I don't know if you can see this, hopefully, under your heel. And let's start with quite a lot of body weight on it, and that's shearing side to side. So, these are super grippy balls. They're really nice balls to use because they've got that grip. But trying to get some slide in the tissues side to side. And then gradually, you're going to need to bend your knee a little bit because you're going to come into the mid-arch. So the seesaw is still dipping. If you're on your really fat mat, Pat, that might be a bit awkward. You might need to come off. I'm just thinking. That's it. Just make sure you're not going to fall over anywhere, anybody. And then you're going to have to bend the knee further or pivot over the seesaw and put the heel down now. And then cross fiber through the arch. I was going to say, I actually did some ball work this weekend on a different course I was on, and they were using golf practice balls, the little foam golf practice balls, which I'd never seen before. And they're tiny, but they're quite nice, actually. I was a bit skeptical. So you golfers there, you can have a little go with the foam ones. They're quite nice. It's amazing still how much feedback. It doesn't have to hurt to work, folks. I know Pat's just going to go and show me some, isn't he? I'm sure he's going to grab a big bag of practice balls. That's it, folks. Can you see on screen? Can you see me or can you see Pat? Pat's showing these, and they're my colours. They're blue and turquoise. Meant for me, obviously. Thank you. So side to side, through the toe knuckles now. And now, okay, so briefly through the toe knuckles. Now, get your grippers working. This would be really good on a golf practice ball, wouldn't it? The small ones. And try and actually pick the ball up with your toes. Now, sorry, there has to be a disclaimer here. Mary and Tina, you've got new balls, so I don't expect you to even remotely think about being able to do this because they're hard as hell, aren't they? Everyone else stands a chance, so get your toe grippers working. Okay. And then my favorite, let's do some big toe extension. Put it right underneath your big toe. Weight standing equally through both feet. Standing on both feet. Just extending the big toe. And then you're going to just walk through the ball. So don't take a massive step, but walk through the ball and lift your back heel up. So look in the direction you want to go. Okay, so pelvis is straight facing forward. We're not sort of bending forward in this sort of crouched angle. And then perhaps come to the second and third toe. Just stand for a little bit. Again, everyone's got different feet. Don't take a big step. You're going to feel like you're going to dislocate your toe. It does vary quite a lot though, doesn't it? So really, depending on what you've been doing, this can vary tremendously between being really comfortable and pleasant. Anybody catch that? Comfortable and pleasant to uncomfortable. Grateful pain, not so grateful pain, useful, pretty blimmin' uncomfortable, but functionally very effective. Okay. Go down to the last two toes briefly. So seriously, only take a baby step or just stand there and weight bear through both feet. Ground your feet into the floor. And slowly just come off that foot. So literally just stand now, weight bearing through that foot. And just see how that foot feels. Have a little wiggle of those toes. Okay, and let's do the other foot. Start on the heel, right into the center of the heel, so you're barely moving. Again, the newer balls are going to feel much harder for this. It's going to be like a more of a, slightly more pressure, obviously. Shearing across, side to side. Make sure your toes are in connection with the floor. Feel free to hold on if you feel at all wobbly. There's lots you can do on the feet. I've suddenly realized we didn't do medial arch on the other foot. So you can cross fiber, and we didn't do longitudinal stripping. So this foot's going to get a different treatment. So let's roll up and down now longitudinally, 3 lines. Try and keep the ball sort of controllable underneath you. And once you know what you're doing, see if you can sort of let your foot do something, but keep looking forward. Your ability to know where you are and what you're doing without actually looking. Okay, again, so this is slightly different footwork. Keep the ball into the medial arch, let the foot drape around the ball. Now, it may feel like it's going to throw your hip out to one side, so stand equally. If you do a job where you habitually stand on one leg and you hip hike, this is for you. And let's evert the foot now and try and bring the big toe side down and lift the outer side of the foot. Can you stand as straight as possible without feeling that you're sort of off over there somewhere? Now, you may decide to take the ball a little bit higher. You'll also notice this if you've regularly been spraining your ankles. This will also flag up some of those. Okay. So let's come into straight through the toe joints. So just stand. So again, this foot's getting a slightly different treatment. Put them together and we've got one foot done nicely, haven't we, really? So just literally let your ball be into the toe knuckles and drape over the ball. Now, your foot is still draping over the ball and you're going to try and extend your toes. So your foot is pushing down, but you're going to extend your toes. Push down, extend your toes, push down, extend your toes, off. Okay. That sometimes can get a bit electric-y. Okay. And then let's do a bit of the old toe grippy jobby. See if you can pick the ball up. Whoops. Oh, it's so satisfying when you think you can do something, isn't it? Behaving like a child. That's it. So have a little go at getting your grippers working. You can slide across your grippers. I was just lucky it didn't knock the iPad off the stand, aren't I, really? Considering I've been trying to get a stable stand for God knows how long. Oh, it would have upset me, wouldn't it? Suddenly. Hey, what your silliness can cost you sometimes, eh? So get your toe grippers working. Then again, into the base of the big toe extension, stand. You may not want to come through the balls of your foot. You might just want to stand. And then go for a little bit of a walk. Again, if you're new, just try and don't take a massive step. Sort of step off that heel. Take the ball into the other toes a little bit. How's that feeling tonight? Not so bad? Okay, so we've got sore feet, we've got not so bad. My feet are feeling amazing, I think, because I spent a weekend bouncing around on doing all of this fascia stuff. How are other people's feet feeling? A bit tired, a bit achy, not so mixed. Okay, so let's come off those and just literally just weight bear from one foot to the other. Slowly just have a little go at perhaps just lifting one foot up. That may even feel lighter just being able to lift your leg up. And let's have a little go at just doing that little bit of toe extension again. Let's see how that feels. Again, settle into your breathing. You may feel a little bit wobbly. You can put your hands out. Perhaps lift that arm up. That just may feel more comfortable, more grounded. You may feel, like I said, a bit wobbly. No right or wrong with this. It's like, what do you notice? You know, what's this input giving you? That feels easier for me. Easier in the feet for anyone else? Does it feel a bit more comfortable, perhaps? Possibly? Okay, let's come into the forward bend. So do what you did a minute ago. Find your feet and just allow yourself to bend forward. Take your time coming down. Feel your breath in your body, in your belly, in your ribs, in your chest. Feel the expansion of your tummy, of your ribs. Let your head hang and be soft and a bit sort of noddy doggy, a bit saggy. Look through your legs. You may find that you can settle into it a little bit more. You might want to rock back and forth a little bit more and just notice if that feels easier with your ability to bend forward because we've done our feet. If you crossed your arms and let your head rest into your hands, then just come into that again. Lift the toes of both feet. See if you can separate each toe and actually place each toe on the floor. Can you feel from the base of the big toe, the little toe, right into the middle of the heel? You might feel it in your hamstrings. Allow yourself to breathe. And then however much you need to bend your knees to get your hands on the floor, some of you will need to bend your knees more than the others. Okay, so some of you will really need to crouch down. Get your hands down onto the floor and let's step back into down dog. Pressing into the palms, pressing into the base of each finger. You can bend the knees a little bit to come into that extension. So we're trying to maintain that lumbar extension a little bit, folks. And see if you can get your heels down any further. Now you may be able to if you walk your hands towards your feet, so try not to sort of cheat. It's not cheating, but it's a question of do what you did a minute ago, okay. Steady your breath, allow yourself to breathe out. Options, you may just decide to stand and breathe, or you can pad the mat and push out through one heel and take the dog for a bit of a walk by bending one knee in. And those of you who are feeling really dynamic and bouncy and want a little bit of stronger work, you can push out through one heel, fold one leg in and split the dog. So you can lift your leg up if that suits you. So if you want to come into split dog, you can do. It's optional. Not for everybody, perhaps this evening, just options to split the dog. Try and keep the pelvis as level as possible. And then slowly just come down onto your hands and knees and drop forward and come into child's pose. Okay, so come into child's pose, feet together, knees wide, and just rest your head on the floor or rest your head on your hands. Head on the floor or head on the hands. Okay. And then slowly, let's just bring ourselves up. Have a sip of water. We're going to move to the walls, folks. We're going to do a little bit of wall ball work around the shoulders. Okay, so have a sip of water and grab a set of toted balls. So 2 toted balls. You can use small or medium. And my suggestion, Andrew, is because of all the stuff here, if you want to actually go over that side, is that okay? So if you both go over that side a wee bit, please. Okay, so let's just put the balls back in the tote using the small ones. Have a little watch. I'm just going to, okay. So we're going to place the balls in between our shoulders, okay? And we're going to be working out from the spine right the way out, right into the edge of the shoulder with them horizontal. That's not horizontal, that's vertical, sorry. And then we're going to come sideways and we're going to do some rolling into this position here. So let's start by putting them over the opposite shoulder. And you take them to the wall. and let the elbow just drop into the shoulder. You can just keep the finger in the tote, or you can just sort of let your arm drop. That's totally up to you. And then roll from the spine right the way in the space between your shoulder blade and your back. So you're literally just into this space here, rolling through, going left to right. And then what you can do is you're actually rounding into the ball. So you can begin to bring your arm across the body. So they're in between the spine and the edge of the scapula, and then you're gradually going to begin to take the ball out onto your shoulder blade. So allow your body to actually move on your feet, pivot on your feet. Just make sure you've toggled them fairly tight. They can walk in the totes a bit, folks. So just mind your wallpaper or your pictures, wherever you're rolling, just mind you're not going to knock something off. If you look quite close, perhaps it's an optical illusion. If you're going to throw it over the back of the shoulder, do it over the opposite arm there, Mary, not the same arm, because otherwise you're just sort of tensioning your shoulders. Come all the way around the back of the shoulder. How's that tonight? We've got any grateful pain going on? Is it grateful pain? Not too bad. Okay, so cross side to side. Again, pin, stretch, move that arm into some different directions. The balls are vertical, and you can actually just jog up and down a little bit by sort of pivoting back and forth. Okay, and then let's do the other side. So we'll stick with the same technique. So put them over the opposite shoulder into the, that's it. Now, depending on how high or low the balls are, folks, okay? So if you're a long way down, you can obviously have them fairly low, but you may want to have them quite high. So just play around with the finger in the tote, string. Small's going to feel more pokey than the medium ones. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And if you go across something like a gritty bar of soap, have either of you found one of those yet in here? Yeah, anybody found any really knotty bits? Yeah, knotty, gnarly. Ah. Okay. That's it. So again, you can bring the arm across the body a little bit. You can also lift that arm up and down as you're rolling. So you're then coming round the back of the shoulder blade. So use your body weight. Have your feet, make sure you're non-slip, folks. So use your body weight, okay, to get right the way over the back of the shoulder blade, right the way around the edge here. See where we are? Can everybody see where we are? Yep. All right there, Tina. All right, Mary, you getting the hang of it? Okay. Okay, so we've done a bit on both shoulders. Now let's place the balls vertically, right in between. So you're going to have to sort of hitch them up the back. Horizontal, sorry, get me horizontals and my verticals mixed up. Just as well I'm not building houses, isn't it? Okay, so hunker down, balls are horizontal, up and down. So you may decide to come into a sort of a slouchy, hunkering down position and sort of letting yourself around the shoulders so the balls can get right into the bony bits either side of the spine. The balls like to be grippy. They like to be on skin, or they like to be on something that's not too slippy. So if you've got the chance to do this in your birthday suit, it's a good thing to do. I did have a client whose wife came down one morning and he was doing this against the fridge. She was a little perturbed. Rolling up and down the fridge. Well, each to their own, eh? So you can lift the arms up and down, coming to some. I was going to say, so whether, I don't know, she didn't say whether he was naked or not. That would have been too much information. Up and down, sorry, up and down. Okay. Now, you're driving a really big truck. Okay, so grab that big steering wheel. And now you're going to pivot. So the balls are somewhere between your shoulder blades about here, and you're going to pivot around. So that means the balls are going to be docking, and they're going to be doing that sort of movement, aren't they? So they're docking like that as you drive your big truck around. Let's have a look. That looks you've got a pretty crazy truck there, Mary. It's obviously gone out of control, I think. Pat's got a crazy truck as well. Tina's truck's a little bit more subdued, I think. Perhaps yours isn't quite as big, Tina. Okay, right, let's come off that and let's do a little bit of this arm stuff. So the sequence now is you're against the wall. Balls are now horizontal, and you're going to turn your palm out and your palm in. So look at the action of your shoulder. As you do this movement, you can feel rounded, protracted. That's right, isn't it? Protracted, and then so just that feeling of rotational. Balls are like here, into the wall, out of the wall. The balls are going to be tracking all the way around here. From the edge of the shoulder, pretty much to where the bottom of your t-shirt would be, folks. Lean into the wall. Again, just make sure the toggle's not eating your wallpaper. After all that new decorating, lockdown decorating, huh? I was going to say there is a little bit of a mess in the studio walls. It's not all me, but no, I'm not going to get a bill. Okay, now feel free to angle your weight into the wall. Now this is going to be more uncomfortable, folks, when you're beginning to get into a little bit of anterior deltoid, tiny bit of bicep, because you're sort of leaning into the wall, but you're still doing this twisting movement. So I'm just going to have a little look. That's it. So use that weight to sort of move up and down by turning your palm in, palm out. So you're capturing all of the upper shoulder tissue. Think about where your t-shirt is. Now, obviously, if you've got a tee back on, you've got flesh on it. So that's good, Tina. Yep. Mary, that's it. So you're just covering the whole of your t-shirt, aren't you? Yep. Good one, Pat. All right, folks. So let's come off that. Just shake that hand out a little bit. Just sort of move that shoulder around, sort of do a little bit of that, see how that feels before you get ready to do the other shoulder. Perhaps see how it feels by doing this before you do this with the other arm. Now you may notice a difference already or not. Might, possibly not right or wrong. Let's do the other one. So you can be really slow and relaxed with this. You may just decide to literally roll yourself into the wall or lean into the wall and really slowly move up and down. Your palm's going to be on your legs. Then it can be out to the side. The ball is just going to be tracking into right across the top, and you can lean in a bit further. Your ear may be on the wall. Palm out, palm in. So we're capturing all of that tissue and just stimulating it, pulling it, wringing it out a little bit through multi-planes of movement. How's that for you two today? All right. It's all right. Uncomfortable? Is it? Yeah. The thing is, you often don't feel that you need it, folks. You know, unless something's yowling at you, we often think we don't need it, but hopefully you can just sort of feel that's really getting into some stuff that often gets a little bit contracted and contractured. Okay, let's just come off that briefly. Just come to camera so you can see what we're doing. We're going to continue this briefly because we're going to do a little bit of forearm. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing down. So imagine I'm literally pinned into the wall. The wall is here. So now I'm going to roll up from my elbow, and we're just going to do the same thing, but literally across the elbow joint down towards the wrist. Same process, okay? So you can actually sort of lean your hip in. So we don't mind a bit of hip hiking now. You can lean your hip in a little bit. Go slowly because this can feel pretty uncomfortable, like verging on grateful pain or verging on, actually, that's not even grateful. That's just not very nice at all. So you can sort of just lean your body weight in, and then you can sort of capture some of that tissue, and you're wringing and twisting. So the balls are right into your flexors and your extensors. Okay, is everyone still okay? Doing that all right? So you're working right way down from the elbow down towards your wrist. Okay. Now briefly on that arm, because I've just realized what the time is. So to come away, put the ball into the crease of your elbow. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to just sort of pin it in. We're doing a bicep curl, and then you're going to do some twisting and some sort of wringing out. So basically you're doing that movement, but from this angle. Okay, so you can twist, turn your fist left to right. Some of you may be able to put the back of the arm in, bring it in and twist. That's all. That's if you're a bit more sort of hypermobile. So into the elbow crease, each way. I think that's a really effective movement, don't you? That whole sort of twisty. Does that feel quite nice, that one? Is it all right? Twist, wring out, flex and extend your wrist. Brilliant for anybody who uses tools, hand tool things. Okay, just let the arm just lengthen for a minute. Just sort of, perhaps put your balls, just, I was going to say, I won't say that. Just let your arms drop. Just see how that feels. Let's get ready to do the other arm. So we're going to do the lower arm, aren't we? I nearly made an inadvertent ball joke there, so I'm glad I didn't. So if you've got a watch on, perhaps take your watch off. Okay, so up and down, into the back of the wall, palm in, palm out. So again, we're just wringing through and trying to separate some of those muscle fibers, connective tissue, fascial fibers, clefts, spaces around the back of the elbow. Now, another move that's quite nice with that, gang, I think of different things as we do it, is to put it onto the back of the tricep and bend the arm in. So that's quite a nice movement if you're in the wall, is to bend your arm in and then you're pinning and stretching the tricep a little bit. Okay. So right the way down towards the wrist. Okay, and then I know this is a bit quick, folks. Put the ball into the elbow crease. Fold it in. And actually come to camera a bit more so I can actually see what you're doing a little bit. You don't have to be so far back. So you've done that nice sort of bicep curl and just do those sort of little swan heads or whatever and make a fist, pin, stretch. You can even move your arm around a little bit. See if you can sort of get used to pinning. And can anybody actually put it into the back of the arm? That feels quite awkward. Can you get it into the back of the elbow? And you'd be amazed. You may be able to do it with one arm. And the other arm, you might think, I've got no idea how to do that because your body doesn't want to move in that position. That's quite interesting, isn't it? Can you do it with one? Yeah, yeah. So some of you may be able to do it with one arm and not the other. Okay. Come into the bicep curl again, just sort of pin, spin. Briefly put that on the floor. Pick up your yoga brick. If you've got one or two, sorry, come back to your mat, pick up your yoga brick. You may have one or two yoga bricks. This is just a bit of fun to end on. So you can use one, you can use two. You can have a little go at trying to do some sort of circles, reaching. You may decide just to sort of perhaps play around with one. See if you can get one up and over. Can you bring it behind you? Can you catch it behind you? You can do two, Tina. That's absolutely fine. I just went from 2 to 1 because it's a bit like you can use one or two. And of course, you can completely and utterly just get yourself in a complete mess with them. But what you can do with one, can you do it with the other? Okay. So if you can juggle, I'm sure you can do this. Can anybody juggle? No. And breathe. No holding breath. Okay. And let's pop them on the floor. Let's bring ourselves back down to lying. Grab your small balls. We're just going to finish briefly on a very short neck sequence, like a minute. Take the balls. Stick them right into the occipital ridge, which is right at the top of the neck. Place your head on the brick. And my suggestion is to stay with your feet knees bent up, basically. Just place the sacrum down. Place the balls behind the top of the neck. Chin is slightly retracted as if you're giving yourself a double chin. So we've done quite a lot of rolling today, okay? So this is just letting the balls shoulder the weight of, or let the balls shoulder the weight of your world. Your neck and head is supported. Your teeth are relaxed, your tongue is relaxed. The lips are gently closed. Again, you can just place the sacrum down, Have the feet comfortably apart. You can also let those legs lengthen if that suits you. It may feel like it's dragging your head down a bit more, so you may not want to do that at the moment. And place the thumb and the first finger together as lightly as possible. And begin to notice the pulse in your fingertips. That small amount of heat, that big amount of heat, you may feel like you're generating a lot of heat. Belly rise, belly fall. Chest rise, chest fall. Just allowing yourself to keep yielding, softening, settling into the floor. Very briefly, or very slowly, without lifting your head up, keep your chin in, slide the brick and the balls out, and just place your head back down on the floor. Lengthen your body, come into Shavasana, and just take a few breaths in and out. Feel your body contracting and expanding, and as you breathe out, just see if you can allow yourself just to yield a little bit more into your mat. And then slowly just take a few breaths where we lift our arms up and down overhead and have a sense of how flat you feel. Notice the spaces now under your ankles, your low back, your neck, and perhaps try and see if you can get your hands underneath you, and notice if you can even get your hands underneath you now. You may feel that you just feel a little bit more open and a bit flatter. Place your hands on your tummy and just feel that lovely soft warmth. Take a few breaths where you expand your tummy into your hands, belly breathing. So you're expanding the belly, but you can feel the ribs expand and the chest expand. And as you exhale, the belly comes in, the ribs come in, and the chest comes in. And then slowly just perhaps hug your knees into your chest. See if you can just roll up like a little ball. Roll over onto your side, and then slowly just bring yourself up. So roll onto the side and then bring yourself up. Now, you don't have to do this bit because this is all nice and relaxed, but we did start the class by just seeing what it was like just to lift a leg or two, or just have a little go at seeing how sort of interconnected we feel, or just to get a sense of whether we feel a little bit more integrated, a little bit easier to lift. So if you want to, you can do that, but you don't have to because it's getting everything activated again. But just, you may feel that you're able to pull yourself in a little bit more. Thank you very much indeed. Well done. Just give your hands a bit of a rub. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for coming out to play this evening. If anybody's got anything they want to say, then I'm just going to end the recording. If you want to unmute yourselves, that's fine. But we're saying goodbye from the studio, so thank you for coming. And I'm just going to end the recording. Yeah, and if you've got any comments, let me just pause the recording. Any comments?